The crimson sun cast long shadows across the barren cliffs, where Zara sat with her knees drawn to her chest. Her iridescent blue skin bore fresh scratches from thorns, and her delicate wing membranes hung torn and useless at her back. Spires of Nexar Prime gleamed in the distance, beautiful and unreachable as the stars themselves. She pressed her fingers to the ground, trying once more to feel the pulse of life energy that flowed through every living thing on her world. Nothing. The gift that made her people soar through crystal towers and heal with touch remained as absent as it had been since birth. She was broken, worthless, a mistake in an otherwise perfect society. The sound of approaching footsteps made her tense. Had the exile hunters come to finish what the council started? But the figure that emerged from the twisted metal trees was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was tall and broad-shouldered, with pale skin and dark hair, wearing strange fabric coverings that seemed both practical and foreign. "Are you hurt?" the stranger asked, his voice carrying an accent she couldn't place. His brown eyes held concern rather than disgust as they took in her wounds. Zara scrambled backward, her damaged wings catching on stone. "Stay back. I am cursed, unclean. The elders have spoken." The man knelt slowly, keeping his distance, but extending his hands to show they were empty. "I'm Marcus, from the human diplomatic vessel Aurora. I don't know about curses, but I know injured when I see it." "Oh." He gestured to her torn wing membrane. "That needs treatment before infection sets." "Inhuman." The word felt strange on her tongue. She had heard whispers of the Star Wanderers who had recently made contact with her world, but had never imagined she would meet one. Marcus nodded, pulling a small device from his belt. "Medical scanner." "It won't hurt, just tells me how badly." "You're injured." He paused, studying her face. "What's your name?" "Zara," she whispered, then caught herself. "But I am no one now, cast out, forgotten." "Well, Zara-who-is-no one," Marcus said with a gentle smile. "Would you let this human help you? 'Cause where I come from, we don't leave people bleeding. On mountainsides, no matter what anyone else says about them." His words stirred something deep in her chest, a warmth she had never felt from her own kind. Against every instinct trained into her by years of rejection, Zara found herself nodding. Perhaps this strange human could see something in her that her own people could not. Hearts in hiding, the human ship was unlike anything Zara had ever imagined. Where Nexari architecture flowed like living crystal, this vessel hummed with purposeful angles and gentle lighting. Marcus led her through corridors that smelled of recycled air and metal, his hand hovering protectively near her elbow without quite touching. "Medical bay is just ahead," he said, glancing over his shoulder with those warm brown eyes. "Dr. Riley's off duty, so it's just us." Zara's heart hammered against her ribs. Being alone with this alien should terrify her, yet she felt safer than she had in cycles. Marcus guided her to a padded examination table and began cleaning her wounds with careful hands. "This might sting," he warned, dabbing antiseptic on a particularly deep scratch along her shoulder. Zara hissed softly but didn't pull away. His touch was gentle, reverent almost, so different from the clinical detachment of Nexari healers. "Why do you help me?" she asked, studying his face as he worked. "Your people must have rules about interference." Paused, meeting her gaze. "Some things are more important than rules." His fingers brushed accidentally against her wrist, and both of them stilled at the contact. "Besides, I've always been curious about others who don't quite fit in." "You are an outcast too?" The idea seemed impossible. This confident, kind being couldn't know the sting of rejection she carried. "Different kind of outcast," he admitted, returning to her wounds. "I ask too many questions, care too much about people I'm supposed to keep at diplomatic distance." His hands moved to her damaged wing membrane, and she shivered at the intimacy of it. "These are beautiful, by the way." Zara stared at him in shock. "They are broken, useless." "They're part of you," Marcus said simply. "How could they be anything but beautiful?" The warmth in her chest grew stronger, spreading through her limbs like liquid starlight. When he finished bandaging her wounds, she caught his hand before he could step away. Skin was warm, slightly rough from work, utterly alien, and completely perfect. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus smiled, thumb brushing across her knuckles. "Thank you for trusting me." They sat in comfortable silence as the ship's night cycle dimmed the lights. Somewhere in that quiet moment, surrounded by the hum of alien technology and the scent of healing salve, Zara realized she was no longer thinking about the home that had cast her out. This human's presence filled all the empty spaces in her hearts. The price of love 3 days aboard the Aurora had passed like a dream. Marcus showed Zara the ship's observation deck where stars wheeled in their ancient dance, and she taught him to identify the constellations of her homeworld. They shared meals, stories, and increasingly meaningful glances that spoke of feelings neither dared name aloud. Zara was examining human star charts when the ship's communication system crackled to life. Elder Corvin's harsh voice filled the bridge, his image materializing in the hologram projector with fury etched in every line of his angular features. "Humans of the vessel Aurora," the Elder's voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "You harbor a criminal, an abomination cast out by righteous law. Return her immediately, or face the consequences of your interference." Captain Rivera, a stern woman with silver-streaked hair, glanced between Marcus and Zara with barely concealed frustration. "Diplomat Chen, explain to me why we have an unauthorized alien aboard my ship." Marcus stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. "She was injured, abandoned in the wilderness." "Basic humanitarian protocol. Don't quote protocol to me," Rivera snapped.
No.
"You've compromised our first contact mission for personal reasons." She turned to Zara, who stood frozen behind Marcus like a cornered animal. "I'm sorry, but you have to go back." No, the word left Marcus's lips with quiet steel, and send her back to exile and certain death. Zara's heart clenched as she watched this human she had come to care for risk everything for her sake. Elder Corvin's image pulsed with rage. "The creature is diseased, a blight upon our people. If you continue to harbor her, we will consider it an act of war." The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of electronics. Zara could see the calculations running behind Captain Rivera's eyes, weighing one outcast's life against galactic peace. The answer was obvious to everyone. "Marcus," Zara whispered, touching his arm, "I cannot let your people suffer for my sake." He turned to her with fierce intensity. "I won't let them hurt you again." "The choice is not yours to make," Elder Corvin declared. "We will arrive within the hour to collect our property."
Ice.
As the transmission ended, Zara felt the familiar weight of abandonment settling over her shoulders. But this time, Marcus's hand found hers, fingers intertwining with desperate strength. "Trust me," he whispered against her ear, and despite everything, she did. Standing together, the shuttle bay's emergency hatch sealed behind them with a hiss as Marcus piloted the stolen reconnaissance craft away from the Aurora. Zara gripped her crash harness, watching her homeworld grow larger through the viewports as they descended toward its surface. "Your captain will punish you for this," she said, though her heart soared at his choice to stand with her rather than bow to politics. Marcus's hands moved confidently over the controls, guiding them toward the deep canyon systems where Nexari patrols rarely ventured. "Rivera's angry, but she'll understand eventually. Some things matter more than careers." The craft shuddered as they hit atmosphere, and Zara found herself studying Marcus's profile in the glow of instrument lights. His jaw was set with determination, but she could see the tension in his shoulders, the weight of what he had sacrificed for her. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why risk everything for someone like me?" He glanced at her, and the raw honesty in his expression made her breath catch. "Because somewhere in these past few days, I fell in love with you." The words hung between them like a bridge neither had dared cross until now. Zara's wing membranes fluttered despite her injuries, an involuntary response to the emotions flooding through her system. "I have never known love," she whispered. "My people see only what I lack." "Then they're blind," Marcus said fiercely, bringing the craft down in a hidden grove between towering crystalline formations. "'Cause when I look at you, I see strength, kindness, and a heart bigger than their entire floating city they abandoned." the shuttle and fled deeper into the canyons on foot, following paths only Zara knew from her childhood explorations. The Nexari hunting parties would find the craft soon, but these twisting passages through living crystal might buy them time. As night fell, they took shelter in a cave behind a curtain of luminescent moss. Zara gathered the glowing plants in her hands, and for the first time in her life, she felt them respond. The moss flared brighter at her touch, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Marcus stared in wonder. "Zara, your hands?" She looked down, shocked to see energy flowing between her fingers like liquid light. "I don't understand. I have no gift, no power, ... "Maybe you needed the right reason to find it," he suggested, moving closer. His hand covered hers, and the moss blazed like captured starfire between their joined palms. "Maybe you needed someone who believed in you." In that moment, surrounded by alien beauty and impossible love, Zara finally understood that she had never been broken. She had simply been waiting for someone to show her how to shine. Love conquers all. The ground trembled beneath their feet as they emerged from the crystal caves at dawn. In the distance, Nexar Prime's floating spires swayed ominously, their usual graceful dance replaced by erratic lurching movements. The very air seemed to vibrate with wrongness. "Something's happening to the city's stabilization field," Zara breathed, her newly awakened abilities letting her sense the disruption in ways her people had never taught her to understand. Marcus checked his communicator, receiving fragmented transmissions from both the Aurora and Nexori emergency channels. "Massive system failure. The city's going to fall if they can't restore power to the anti-gravity generators." Zara watched her former home tilt at a dangerous angle, and despite everything they had done to her, her heart ached for the thousands of innocents inside. "My people... they will die." "Can your abilities help?" Marcus asked, gripping her shoulders. "That energy you channeled last night... I do not know how," she admitted, but even as she spoke, she could feel power building in her chest like a star preparing to be born. "I was never trained, never accepted... "Then we learn together," Marcus said firmly. "Right now." They ran toward the city's base columns, dodging falling debris and panicked evacuation shuttles. Elder Corvin's voice echoed across emergency broadcasts, calling for all gifted Nexari to link their power to the failing generators. But Zara could sense what he could not. The problem wasn't lack of energy, but the wrong kind of energy being applied. There she pointed to the primary stabilization node, a massive crystal formation that pulsed with sickly light. "It needs harmony, not force. They are trying to command it like a tool, but it is alive." Marcus boosted her up to the crystals. Surface and Zara pressed her palms against its faceted sides. The stone was cold, dying, overwhelmed by the harsh demands placed upon it. She closed her eyes, and instead of trying to take or command, she simply listened. The crystal sang to her. Of loneliness, of centuries bearing weight without understanding or care. Zara opened her heart and sang back, not with her voice, but with every feeling Marcus had awakened in her. Love, acceptance, the joy of being seen for who she truly was. Power flowed between them. Crystal and outcast in perfect harmony. The city's lurching stopped, spires straightening as the stabilization field strengthened beyond anything it had ever achieved. As cheers erupted from the floating city above, Elder Corvin's shuttle landed nearby. The ancient leader emerged with his retinue, his expression cycling through shock, confusion, and finally, grudging respect. "The exile has done what our greatest masters could not," he admitted, his voice heavy with centuries of pride swallowed hard. "Perhaps we were wrong about your nature." Zara stood, Marcus's hand finding hers immediately. "I am not returning," she said simply. "I have found where I belong." Elder Corvin nodded slowly, perhaps finally understanding that some gifts could only flourish when freed from the constraints of tradition. As they walked back toward the Aurora together, Zara felt her torn wing membranes flutter with new strength. She was still different, still unique among her people, but now she knew that difference was her gift, not her curse. In Marcus's arms under alien stars, she had finally found her home.